Anyone who has been an entrepreneur for a handful of years will tell you it's not about the big wins. It's always about the small wins. Small and massive success that comes from the small, consistent actions is actually called habit stacking. And this is something that you can put into action now. And by this time next year, you'll be amazed at the transformation. And it is hard. I know, I understand, to create new habits, but there are some actual really cool ways to do it. I started with small habits. I started changing the little things, what I do every day, so that my default, my subconscious, the things I did without even having to think about doing them, became more productive, more serving, more rewarding, more impactful habits than the ones I had acquired before. Now, as we all know, we acquire some pretty unhealthy habits and we do it to cope and to compensate or whatever we want to call it. It's a big deal to recognize and have awareness around those. I'm sure you already have awareness around some of them. Some of us don't. Some of us sit and scroll on social media for hours and watch TikTok videos for hours without even realizing how much time we've spent. Awareness is huge and it's really key. But I want to start today those 1% shifts, one habit at a time. The small wins, the small things, those little habits you do every day create a compound effect, which makes it easier to hit your large goals. If your goal is to become a legal nurse and work from home and have a six-figure business, that can happen. Start with the small things. Let's start with that 1%. Here's an example. Instead of saying, I'm going to go work out for 1 hour, 3 times a day, every single week, put the actions in place to make it happen, which means, where are you going to work out? Where is that? With who? What workout are you going to do? And block the time. So you have to actually get very detailed. I'm a prime example. I was like, I'm going to work out an hour 3 times a week. And then I would get to that hour. I planned it. I knew where, I knew when. I just didn't know what I was going to work out. And then I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to work out. This isn't productive. And then I would skip and go do something else. You increase resistance by not planning it out. Make it easy for yourself. If you're going to commit, do it. Or start small. And maybe instead of saying, I'm going to work out 1 hour, 3 days a week, and then when you don't hit those 3 days a week, you feel like a failure, right? I know I've done that. How about I'm going to do some sort of more movement. Here was my goal to start out. I just trash the whole go to the gym. I go to the gym now, but that's not how I started. I was like, I'm going to do some sort of movement that gets me to 2,000 steps a day. No joke. Started at 2,000 steps. Some of you are like, I walk way more than that on a shift. Great. Up it a little bit so that now I'm doing 5,000 steps a day, and it's not any judgment of the movement or what you're doing or when you're doing it. It can be built in, right, naturally. Some of you who are still working on the floors, maybe you have the time and you just take the scenic route around your unit to go get a cup of water for your patient, to add some of those steps in. It becomes inspirational versus, if I don't check this box 3 times a week, I didn't do what I said I would do. And then you're judging yourself. That gets harsh quickly. You want to talk about demoralizing and demotivating yourself quickly? That is doing it. So maybe starting small is, I'm going to do some sort of movement to get to 2,000 or 5,000 steps a day. It removes the mental barrier. And if you don't do it, you fail, right? That's the barrier it removes. Instead, it allows you flexibility to do any movement and just start and create the habit. And you're bringing awareness to it. And that awareness is going to seek motivation. The second one, I had already mentioned this earlier, habit pairing. So or habit anchoring. This is a technique where you take a new habit and you attach it to or do it after an old habit. Here's an example. After I brush my teeth, I'm going to do a 2-minute wall sit because I'm going to get up and brush my teeth every morning and every night. That's a habit that I have, right? So if you have a habit, I get up and have my cup of coffee. Maybe your goal is different. Maybe you're going to sit down as a legal nurse and do connections. You're going to make your cup of coffee, and then while you drink it, you're going to make your daily connections on LinkedIn. So to create that habit, you decrease the resistance because you know you're going to get up and make your coffee. You already do that without even thinking about it every day. But when you do it, now you're going to go, okay, now that I've made my coffee, I'm going to go sit down and make my connections. Or now that I brush my teeth, I'm going to do my 2-minute wall sit. It decreases resistance. And because you already have a natural flow of your old habit without resistance, you tend to roll right into the new habit without resistance. Use visual cues and reminders. I love to use sticky notes. So I would take a sticky note and write it on there, stick it on my mirror. You can just write on your mirrors, and it would be 2-minute wall sit reminder. So when I got up and brushed my teeth and looked in the mirror, I'd be like, oh yes, after I brushed my teeth, I do my wall sit. If you know you make your coffee and you get creamer out of the refrigerator every day, put a sticky note inside your refrigerator so that you know that after you make your cup of coffee, you're going to go sit down and do your connections. You're going to go check your email for follow-up. It makes it so that visual cue becomes the trigger and a reminder for you to do the new habit while you're subconsciously, without even thinking about it, carrying forth the old habit. Treat yourself like a baby learning to walk, right? You're going to give yourself all the cues and the little support that you need so you can be more successful. Instead of saying, I'm going to work out 3 times per week for 1 hour and getting upset because I didn't and couldn't wing it on the fly or make it in time, I actually planned time to exercise. And here's what else I did. I packed my workout clothes. I filled my water bottle. I put it all in my car the night before. I show up and I work out. And I am truly impressed with how much I'm actually doing and what I'm capable of doing, simply because I made it that easy on myself. Make it so easy for yourself to do. And again, give yourself all the support you need. Do we really ever do anything consistently on the fly? No, because on the fly is exactly that. It's on the fly, which is inconsistent. Spontaneous is not routine. It is not consistent. So if you want this to happen, if you want to create these small movements in your life, small movements that have a massive compound effect, that make your default hardwiring more successful, your habits happen by doing them over and over, giving it that time and energy. The small wins. Take yourself seriously. If you do a wall sit after you brushed your teeth, if you did your 10 or 15 or 20 connections after or during your coffee, give yourself a pat on the back, okay? When you start winning every day, you're living in the gain because your wins are behind you. Your goals are still in front of you, but you're tagging in wins and you're putting them, it's like notches in your hat or something. The small actionable habits lay the foundation for the big wins. And the biggest successes don't come unless you start small. We set up habits, we habit pair, we start small, we make them measurable, we remove all obstacles and resistance, and we make it as easy as we can for ourselves to do it consistently over and over. When you start viewing your mistakes as data instead of failure, when you start focusing on getting back on the track instead of focusing on the one day that you missed, you're going to start micro rewarding yourself, and that self-talk shifts from I have to, which is obligation and sacrifice, to I get to, which is opportunity and reward. Here's another tip to avoid self-sabotage. Micro reward yourself. I've already talked about this, okay? Here's an idea, all right? My kids and I do this in the house. We have these little punch-out cards. They look like the size of business cards, okay? And I say punch-out like we use hole punchers. We will put on the card, when you get 10 punch-outs, you get to reward yourself. So write on the card what you have to do to get the punch-out and what the reward is. Here's an example. I get a punch out, and this sounds silly and it sounds childish, but you have an inner child lurking inside of you. Trust me, you have lots of inner children, and it is uber rewarding. Here's my action card. When I get 30 grams of protein in my diet, and every time I do my Stairmaster at home, I give myself a whole punch out. And guess what my reward is? After I get 10, I get to go get a massage. That's what I reward myself with. And it's exciting, because then you're looking for opportunity to do it. You're living in the gain. And believe it or not, it's hella motivational. Tell me that's not brain training right there, just like that. And it is just that easy. Because once you get to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you are looking for opportunities to do it more and more so that you can reward yourself with that massage or a night out to dinner or a movie. It leads to actionable shifts. It leads to motivation. It leads to you being objective about yourself instead of subjectively and emotionally criticizing yourself. You're living in the gain and not the gap. This is an opportunity for you to reflect and adjust and move forward towards something versus seeing or criticizing yourself for the amount that you did. And if you pair or stack any one of these, you're going to see game-changing results in a super short amount of time. These are the 1% shifts that you can stack to completely change your life.
Want full access to expert-led trainings, networking opportunities, and resources you won't find anywhere else? The NLNCN is the only national network built for nurses by nurses. Join today and get up to 2 months free. Click the link below to start exploring.